So I do remember the first time I watched this film, and it was a bit of an eye opener, and for the very reason. And spoiler alert here: if you haven't seen this film, there is a major twist in it, and we are going to discuss it. So at least, at least go and watch the film and then come back and listen to us.
I think that's the first time you've ever said spoiler alert.
But it goes from being an action / drama, thriller, drama. I don't know what you class the first half as.
I'd call it a thriller.
Yeah, to a horror film.
Mm.
Yeah, or horror action. And I remember someone saying to me, "Oh, I watched this film, really good. There's a bit of a twist, but but they didn't say what it was." And I watched it, and that bit where they literally change into a vampire film, I was just like, it was blown away. I was just like, what? I've never seen anything like that before. So where have you gone with this?
Yeah,
it's like it's like the Predator thing, isn't it? You start off with one story, then massively
swap it to another. And it's funny though, because I would have watched Predator before, but I never put that twist to the same magnitude as what happens in this.
I'll tell you why. Because with Predator, because it's all set in the jungle, it still feels like the same film. It's still the same style and tone. With Dusk Till Dawn, the first half is very different to the second half with style and tone.
Yeah, and in Predator, you also have that bit of him sort of hunting them. Yeah, he's watching them, so something's there, and exactly, and you're sort of guessing it's possibly not another group of humans after them, sort of anyway. But there's two elements of this film that I remember vividly from watching it for the first time: the twist, and also the pussy scene. When he's like, come inside, we got pussy, pink pussy, white pussy, yellow pussy, smelly pussy.
I'm gonna add a third.
Yeah, I always remember people just quoting that all the time.
I'm gonna add a third on that.
Go on then.
And her name is Miss Hayak.
Oh, she is. She's a very attractive lady.
Fucking otherworldly in this film, but
that snake was never happier.
Well, but she was.
Quentin Tarantino was never happier, but he had her foot in his mouth.
Oh yeah,
He loves her foot.
Yeah. And she was petrified of snakes, and
Quentin Tarantino.
Had to be sort of talked into it on the day.
Really?
Yeah. Oh. Come on, what else have people got as regards to memories?
Yeah, I just remember in high school, this was I think when I was in year 8, year 9, maybe. This was just the talk of the year. Basically, this film is everyone's saying, "Oh, you've seen that scene," and just for. I think this came out after Pulp Fiction, didn't it?
96, I think this came out, and
I
think I would have been about 16, 17 watching it.
Yeah. All right, I'm with you, Ev. I remember the buzz. It was almost like a buzz doing the Schoolyard, wasn't it, when this came out? Or when someone came in who had seen this and they would say, "You got to watch that film."
I think it was because it was Tarantino, right? And people were already talking about Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. And I know he didn't direct it. It was what's his name?
Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah. But he was heavily involved. He wrote it. Everyone was like, "Oh, it's Tarantino again. It's going to be good. It's going to be violent. There's going to be loads of language in it." And when you're a teenager, especially a teenage boy, you sort of crave that sort of film, don't you?
Well, for a teenage boy, it's like almost a perfect film, isn't it? Like the violence, the nudity, vampires. Yeah.
Well, hey, it had everything I would have wanted in a film: violence, gore, sexual content.
Yeah. When's the last time you'd seen it?
It wouldn't be surprised if it was maybe university, so 20 years ago.
I remember having the video, the VHS in uni.
Probably watching you a video then.
Well, without me.
Yeah, sneaking in, stealing your videos.
Couldn't have done worse. But it could have been one of us breaking into your room to play Pez.
Yeah.
Andrew would come home from uni or work, and one of us would just be sat on his bed playing his computer. He'd locked his bedroom door.
The thing is, right, I had no issue with you or Ev sitting on my bed and playing Pez, right? I'm for people who don't know, Pro Evolution Soccer. The issue I had was that there was one member of staff. There was one member of our household who may sit on the bed in just his pants. And I was just like, if anyone's just sitting on a bed in pants and it's my bed, it's going to be me.
Yeah.
So walk in and someone's sat there in their pants and their Johnson's hanging out the one leg hole. Did we do your memories, Proc?
No, similar to you, mate.
Yeah.
Watched it in school because people were talking about it. Yeah, I think my reaction was pretty much the same as yours, you boys. Just, first half, you're like, oh, this is a good film. And then the second half, you're like, whoa, where does this come from?
Yeah. Did you ever watch the TV series?
No.
I watched the first couple of episodes. It was all right. But, I sort of lost interest.
What about the sequels?
I've definitely seen one of them. And is one of them a prequel?
I don't know. I haven't seen any of them.
Yeah, I think the one that I seen was a prequel.
Okay.
And it's about the Titty Twister Club, obviously. And that's more horror than what these ones are. I do like that end shot, though.
Yeah, it makes it more intriguing, doesn't it?
Yeah, and, because it's obviously based in Mexico, and it's sort of like a little... Well, not little, but it's like a sort of, you see those lost worlds and lost cities and whatever. Right, moving on to favorite aspect then. Anyone want to go first?
I'm going to say Quentin Tarantino, and not just for the writing. I am going to give him some props for his acting in this film. I think he found his niche as a psychopathic rapist.
If you're gonna be remembered for something, go big or go home.
No, in fairness, I think I'm gonna say it now, right? Rewatching it, I was blown away how good the first 50 minutes were. About the brothers. I think the dialogue and the writing and the setup, I think it's brilliant. There's only one scene I don't like in the first 50 minutes, and we'll touch on that later.
Yeah.
But also, I like Quentin Tarantino's acting. I know we're going to mention there's loads of other stuff that's good, but I just thought he gets slagged off for his acting because, in fairness, he's not been very good in the stuff that he does. But in this, I think he holds his own, and I just want to give him a shout out for that.
Ev?
I do like the relationship between him and George Clooney, but yeah, I think Clooney for me is really good throughout the film. And I think
I knew one of you boys were going to mention that, so that's why I went somewhere else.
It's just some of just the dialogue he's given, but plus certain scenes where the main example is when he comes back from getting food, and he goes into the hotel room and he opens the bedroom door and he obviously sees what Richie has done, and it's it's his facial expressions and the fact that he realizes that his brother's basically a monster, but he can't do anything because he's family, and it's almost like a cross the bear sort of thing.
My favorite aspect, and we've mentioned the twist, so I'm not going to mention that. But the second favorite aspect for me is the opening scene. In the and I know I'm touching on senior, right? But it's more about how it sets the first 50 minutes and the violence for the film, or the tone for the film, not the violence. I just love that bit where you're watching it, you think, oh, it's just a normal scene or a normal sort of shop, and then it turns and you get that, actually something is, wrong here, and then all of a sudden the copper gets shot in the head, and you're like, what? Now I know what type of film I'm likely to watch.
Yeah.
From a violence point of view, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's got proper...
I've got one other aspect, and it's Salma Hayek. I'm gonna bringing it up in this podcast.
Is that going to be a standing item? Just
can I just say now, right? Favorite aspect, favorite scene. I'm just going to say Salma Hayek, right? But that we can leave that there now. I've done it.
And changes, not enough Salma Hayek.
Yes, well done. Yes, she dies way too early.
Right, we may as well move on to favorite scene. I'm going to start. I quite like the expedition dump, which is the reporter scene, which is Kelly Preston.
Kelly Preston.
Yeah, where she's literally telling the stories of the story of the brothers, where they've been, and how they've got to where they are. I just thought it was quite obvious, but at the same time, I thought, they've done it quite well.
Done it in an interesting way, you mean? Yeah.
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 And she's interviewing John Saxon, as the FBI guy.
Yes.
Him from Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes. Yeah. Come on, what else have people got? There's not much for me to say on that one. It's just
I could honestly, I could pick almost anything from the first 50 minutes. There was one rewatching it this time. One of the scenes I loved that I forgot about was just Seth, George Clooney, talking to Jacob, Harvey Keitel, at the front of the minivan as they're driving. For me, right, I know Ev said about George Clooney as his favorite aspect, right? I think you could tell from this film that George Clooney was going to be a movie star because of how charismatic he is, despite being... I know he's a bank robber primarily, but he's also like this... He's a horrible man, isn't he? He's like a killer. But yet somehow... at the end of the film, certainly, you kind of rooting for him to get out of it. And I just related to that scene in the front of the van because of the way George Clooney is acting, like the way he sat. He's like sort of lounged out, but he's facing a different way to Jacob. And I don't know if that was Robert Rodriguez directing and blocking the way he's positioned the characters to show conflict between them because they're facing different directions. But it's the way George Clooney sits and the way he presents himself. I don't know why, but that scene, I really liked that this time around. But like I said, anything in the first 50 minutes. And of course, Salma Hayek.
I got another scene.
Yeah.
And it's when Fred Williams, who's the big black dude, he's telling his Nam story, and all of a sudden, Sex Machine's fingers come up over his shoulders. It makes me laugh every time. And that whole sort of like Nam story is absolutely pile of shit, but it does make me laugh.
Well, by the sounds of it, I think he killed about 25 people.
He kills like the entire camp, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But then he's doing the actions after it. He's like, right, stab, grab him in the headlock, stab, break a neck, stab. It's like...
And Fred Williams, he's a massive he's a massive movie star. Not so much by the time this film came out, but like back in the day, so like 70s. What's the term I'm looking for? Progwino.
Blaxploitation.
That's the one. Yeah, he was massive. He did loads of those type of films.
But he used to be an American football player as well, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, another reason why he's massive.
Yeah, I think I quite like the scene. The start, the opening scene. And I quite like how you meet like the various people in the bar as well. Like you have Sex Machine and his massive gun, his crotch gun, and then like
cock gun. Come on,
yeah, cock gun. All right, his fucking dick gun. And then you got like the mariachi band who are going a bit mental, and then you've got like the Vietnam vet on one table, and various people like that.
Let's kill the band. I love that bit. Where did they get that like guitar person from?
What, the lead singer?
No. Like all of a sudden they're like a mariachi band.
Oh yeah,
they all turn into vampires, and one of their guitars turns into like a human body.
Yeah. How did they have time to make it? It's just like, oh fuck.
The other thing, right? When it changes into the vampire film, and Danny Trejo's character gets killed. Yeah. So and he's on a pool table, isn't he? And this time, the first time I've ever noticed this, his eyeballs roll out of his head and into the pockets.
Yeah.
I was just like, how have I never noticed that before?
Well, also I gotta mention Selma Hayek again. But Clooney's facial expressions when she's dancing on the table, it's just so funny.
But my facial expressions when I was watching it. It's ridiculous, isn't it? It's just ridiculous. As I like taken away from the. I know we're taken away from the fact that she is a really good actress, but she must be one of the most beautiful women in any film during that scene. I struggle to think of many who have been, sexier. I want to say, just ridiculous, man.
All right, let's move on to changes then. And I'm gonna counter Prog here. And one of my changes is I would change Tarantino.
Okay.
I don't like him as. And going back to what Prog said earlier, Tarantino does get critics about criticized about his acting, and I think you got to remember, I don't think he's a classically trained actor. I could be wrong on that, but
no, he did try to become an actor, didn't he? But he found himself in script writing.
Yeah, I don't know. I personally would have liked to seen someone else in it. But I give him some credit. He does reasonably well. I just find him at times a bit. I don't even know what the word is. It's just and I pick this up on a lot of films he does, but there's just something about his acting style. Maybe it just doesn't work for me.
I'm not saying he's amazing or that I wouldn't change him. The only reason I brought him up at the beginning is because he always gets slagged, but I think he's actually good in this film.
And credit, give him some credit, and I will give that. I don't think he's awful. He's not the worst person in this film, acting wise, that's for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I just would have liked to seen someone else in it, but I don't know who. So
you haven't got anything about who could have been cast, or?
No, I haven't actually.
I wonder if one of the Pulp Fiction guys could have got in there.
Kurt Russell.
What about Michael Madsen?
Tim Roth. Maybe not. I would have wanted to see someone like Steve Buscemi in there. But maybe I'm just getting that a bit confused also with his Con Air role.
Well, get Nicolas Cage in here then, isn't it?
Well, yeah. But yeah,
do you know what I reckon happened, right? I reckon Quentin wrote the script because him and Robert Rodriguez were getting pally at the time, and Quentin wrote the script, said, I got this for you. But Quentin had wrote the scene where Richie sucks Selma Hayek's toes. And I think Quentin was like, I wrote this for you, but I would like to play this part if that's okay.
Yeah. And it has to be Salma Hayek, please.
Yeah.
It all comes back to Salma Hayek.
Yeah.
He only got paid $1,500, didn't he, for the script on this?
For his script?
Yeah,
But he got paid additional.
He probably got paid as an actor as well, didn't he? And
what that is though, probably, is that they couldn't afford, or they didn't want to pay him two massive salaries, so they said, we'll give you one or the other.
A bit like when they brought on Shane Black to help write Predator as it went along.
Yeah, probably.
They put him in as an acting role, which he did quite well in. Yeah. But they do it all the time, don't they? Just ways of getting around bloody unions and whatnot.
So my main change is actually from my favourite section of the film. It's in the first 50 minutes, but it's the diner scene with Harvey Keitel and Juliette Lewis and Ernest Liu. I wouldn't have that scene. I would just cut it completely. And I would have your introduction to that family as they're driving into the motel.
Yeah.
Because I think all the exposition for that family you get, and it's better when George Clooney's character is sat at the front of the van with Harvey Keitel's character.
Yeah, it's a good show, that.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's I hadn't thought of it, but that's really good shout. I have an issue anyway, right? And it's not so much with the writing, but I have an issue with Juliette Lewis and the person who plays Scott. Can't remember his
Ernest
name.
Liu.
Yeah. They're two of my other changes. I think Juliette Lewis at times is a little bit wooden. And I hate saying that about actors because, Juliette Lewis, she's
a good actress.
She's good. She is good. She's good, and sometimes it is a little bit about her style, but but Scott, I think, is even worse. I just don't get that character at all. I wouldn't have. I get why he's there, but yeah.
He's very cheesy at the end, where like he says like the Jesus Christ bit or whatever just before he kills Jacob. It's a bit like.
Well, I was going to ask you boys about this, right? Because I don't know whether I put it in my changes or not, but the dialogue when they're actually fighting the vampires does feel different to the rest of the film. And I don't know if that's intentional to keep in the same style as the film now is, being a horror. It's almost like a B movie, isn't it? It goes into B movie territory with the blood and guts and vampire element.
So do you think like Tarantino wrote like a good chunk of the first element, and then someone else had come in and wrote the dialogue for that?
Well, growing up, I always thought that Tarantino had written the first half of the script and Robert Rodriguez had wrote the second half of the script, and that's why the film changes so, like, it's such a sharp change. But if you look at writing credits, it's pretty much just Tarantino's screenplay. So what I'm getting at is we all know that Tarantino is an extremely talented writer. So I'm wondering whether the shift in plot is so extreme, does that lead to Tarantino writing the dialogue different?
Possibly, yeah.
Because there's some of the dialogue in the second half I'm not keen on. It falls a little flat, and I think that's going towards you two saying about the kids.
And maybe you have got a point, because if you are writing a more action-based / horror film, you haven't got the opportunity for the long, meaningful dialogue. It tends to be a lot sharper and quicker. Here's a question for you, right? What happens if they'd gone out there, Scott now, right? He's got a super soaker and condoms full of water. What if he'd gone out there and holy water didn't make a jack piece of shit against the vampires? He would have been fucked straight away, wouldn't he? I know he died anyway, but
he draws the short straw in terms of weapons, doesn't he? Like, you know, Seth has obviously got his gun plus that big massive, you know,
like a pneumatic spike.
Yeah, pneumatic stake or whatever. Jacob's got his pump action shotgun. Juliette Lewis has got a crossbow, and what's he got? A fucking water pistol.
He's a kid giving a super soaker.
I know, yeah.
The thing is, though, in that situation, would you actually want to leave the room?
Well, just stay in there till it gets light, and then come back.
Well, that's the thing, innit? They didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I would have just knocked Harvey Keitel off and waited for the. But then again, I suppose they couldn't get the light in the actual titty twister until they started shooting the walls out.
Yeah, I suppose. There's loads of inconsistencies, I think, as well with the vampires' deaths. Like some get their heads chopped off. Like Sex Machine gets his head chopped off, doesn't he? And then he turns into a dog. Some of them seem to get.
What's with that?
Yeah, some of them seem to get like, I don't know, a piece of wood in their
belly.
belly.
The devil hound.
What?
He's a devil hound.
It looked like the Thing mixed with American Werewolf in London. It's just like...
Yeah, it did. But you get what I mean. There's just some inconsistencies throughout. Some seem to die a certain way. Some others, didn't bother them at all. A bit of a fact on it, right? That the filmmakers decided to give the vampires green blood in order to get around the R rating, or they wanted it to be R rated. If that blood had been red and the amount of blood that would have been on screen, they probably wouldn't have got an R rating.
What would they have classed it? X rated,
X, I think, yeah. So.
Okay.
Any other questions, Jeff?
No, I've just got a couple of general comments really.
It's difficult to, like, for me anyway, because I think the first half is actually an extremely good film.
Yeah.
And I part of me wishes that you had just stayed with that film for the second half. But it's hard for me to criticize the second half of the film because it is what it is. It's just good fun.
Yeah.
I don't think you're meant to think about it. The only issue I have is because is set up in such a way that, like, you become emotionally invested, or to a certain degree, you become invested in the characters one way or another, depending on whether they're the Harvey Keitel family or they're the brothers. And then this thing happens in the middle, and it's just like, oh, well, all that's out the window now. It's just a question of, let's just watch them ripping these vampires apart.
I think you're right. I think you've got to just enjoy the film and not worry too much about it.
Yeah. It's just the little things I want to mention. Like, it's a proper B movie feel, like Death Proof, which is obviously another Robert Rodriguez film.
I think that was the point, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And it's
but Death Proof is Quentin Tarantino's film.
Is it?
Yeah.
Planet Terror.
Planet Terror was Robert Rodriguez, because they did a double bill, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Yes. Right. Yeah, but you get nods to like the same universes like Pulp Fiction and the other films like that work, because Michael Parks, who plays the sheriff at the start, he's the same sheriff in Kill Bill. It's the same character. Obviously you got Big Kahuna Burger.
Sorry, but I don't know this. How can he be the same character? Because Kill Bill's set later and he dies in From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, well, it's according to IMDb, he plays Earl McGraw in both films.
No, he does, and I don't think it's ever been sort of mentioned, but it's implied then, or people assume, that this comes after Kill Bill.
Yeah.
In the universe timeline, let's put it that way.
That doesn't make sense. There's mobile phones in Kill Bill.
Don't know. Just if you look at IMDb in the character listing. Even in Grindhouse, Death Proof, and Planet Terror, he's Earl McGraw.
You know what? I'll excuse it. If they say father son, and they've got the same name.
What? Well, this is the thing. In Kill Bill, he has a son with him, doesn't he?
No. What I mean is Michael Parks plays the father in Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
And then he plays the son.
Oh, right. Okay.
Kill Bill, and then he has another actor play his son.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I get you.
I'll excuse you if that's the case. Otherwise, shocking.
Cheech Marin, he's definitely earning his money in this film. He plays
three roles.
Three, yeah. Three. Oh.
But I don't understand the reasoning for it.
What?
Like, why? They're giving him 3 roles, right? And it's not like he's got heavy makeup or prosthetics on. He's just the same guy.
How dare you?
He looks exactly the same. He might have a little bit of longer hair in one scene or one character.
I'll tell you what this is, right? But this is your ignorance of the Mexican dialect. What you don't realize is that he's got 3 different accents. The regional subtleties that you're not noticing.
Yeah, whatever. Next you'll be saying they are actually 3 different actors, but you're just a racist and all you see is Mexicans all look the same. Yeah, he plays the border agent, the guy outside the titty twister, get my words out, and then Carlos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I didn't realize the guy who plays Sex Machine, he's a makeup artist for films.
Oh,
he
does
special effect. Tom Savini.
Yeah, he did Friday the 13th and loads of other films.
Yeah.
And this is one of the issues I have again with the film. Prog's touched on it. You know, the second half of the film does go a little bit outlandish. And Sex Machine, he adds like a comedy element to the film for me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. He's quite camp, I think. He's got like a campy Bollywood feel about it.
Mm.
Look, I brought that up in changes, but ultimately there's not much I would change about this film. We got some nitpicks here, but
plus the band is actually, well, it's members of a proper band called Tito and Tarantula. The lead singer is Tito, and the Robert Rodriguez is actually part of that band as well.
They're not
he loves his guitar music, doesn't he? Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah.
They're not the Doritos El Mariachi band then.
I gotta say that song. Sorry to go back to the Selma Hayek scene, but the actual song that they play is brilliant for that scene, isn't it? Really good piece of music.
While I was doing a bit of research for this, I did look up sort of like Juliette Lewis's filmography, and she's done some really good films. But the really random thing I didn't know about her, who her dad was. So if you don't know, just jump on quickly to Google and type in Jeffrey Lewis. And he is the sort of actor that you will recognize straight away.
Well, he was in Any Which Way But Loose, wasn't he?
He was in both of them.
So how do you is it Jeffrey with a G or Jeffrey with a J?
Yeah, G. You know how many kids? He's got 9 kids.
Really?
Yeah. Jesus, he has been in loads, isn't he?
Yeah, he's in Tango and Cash.
Is he? Oh, hold on.
Oh my God, his filmography goes on for days.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
He's in The Lawnmower Man.
Lawnmower Man. But isn't he just the type of actor you think, I recognise him, but I couldn't tell you where he's been in?
He's been in X-Files.
Yeah.
And he was in Fletch Lives as the Ku Klux Klan leader.
I will admit,
Oh, he's been in Maverick. We got to do that film.
I thought you meant Maverick as in the new Top Gun film.
There's only one Maverick film, but
the Mel Gibson one.
Yeah, the Melo Gibbo one.
It is a good film. Oh, he died, so he can't be in Maverick. He died about 7 years ago.
I was wondering why his filmography stopped at a certain year.
And then the final thing from me, Titty Twister. Now, when they walk into it, this is the most well-lit bar in the world. Like, if that was a real bar in the real world, it would it'd be like dingy and horrible. It's like the most well-lit thing in the world.
Oh, I got a change or an issue. You just reminded me. How was there such a lack of bouncers at the Titty Twister? You got all those semi-naked, gorgeous women, and it's all bikers and truckers.
Buckers and truckers.
You'd have so many problems with groping and guys trying to get hold of whatever they can get hold of. It's only like Cheech on the door, and then one guy inside.
Now that guy who was as wide as he is tall.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like I know Treyu could have sorted a few of them out, but
yeah, just him alone, he'd give you the stare, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Come on, then. Let's wrap this up by asking the final question. Ev, would you recommend?
Yes.
Prague?
Yes, I would.
I would as well. I think it's a thoroughly enjoyable film.
Yeah.
And I think you've got to take the second half of it with a sort of pinch of salt and just enjoy it. But yeah, I think it's really good. Yeah. And I'm glad we went back and watched it.
I am as well, because I wouldn't have reappraised the first half and realized how good it was.
No, it is.
Whose suggestion was this? I can't remember.
It might have been mine. I could be wrong.
Surprised it wasn't Evans.
I don't think it was a recommendation. So box office, 19 million budget. Return just shy of 60 million. So times 3. Does have a bit of I think a B movie feel about it though. We mentioned this already. So, and the R rating wouldn't have helped it in the cinema. Tarantino sort of violence and what have you. There's a lot of people out there at this time who would have been dead against this type of film. So it made 40 million. Probably made, I don't know, however much more on top of that from VHS sales and then the TV series later on. So
did its job, didn't it?
Yeah, it spawned a couple of sequels at least. So, all right. So podcasts come out every Wednesday. Check us out on social media. Check out our YouTube channel. And if you want us to do a specific film in the future, just let us know. Cheers all.